Basically, I just watched a video the other day from Rogue Gold asking the question, should you play Division 1 in 2024? The answer is, well, I should say, it's not even a question. You should definitely play the Division in any year, the Division 1. I have said repeatedly many times that the Division 1 is far superior than the Division 2. And I never really put in any context of why I feel that way. So I made a quick list. I didn't write a script. I don't do that. So I may not have like the number of missions and different things like that if I even get into that. But basically, it's easy to say the environment. That's kind of a cop out in my opinion. To say the environment is better. It is. It's better in many ways, but that's not the only reason why the game is better. The game is better because of the way it puts feelings to everything that you encounter while you play the game. From the audio logs found throughout the world to the interactions with all the people that you rescue while you're building your base of operations, with Jessica Candle, with Fei Lao, all of them. It just, as you play through the game, you have interactions with these people that when Division 2 comes around, they're just NPCs. You just interact with them occasionally and they add nothing to the story, which kind of adds to this game has a far superior story than 2. This game built the story, and the interactions with people on the street when you give them things, the running of the missions where you go into a tunnel and you see nothing but body bags, and it's like when you played this in 2016, you never in a million years thought that you would see the beginning of this in 2020. Yeah, it didn't get to be this drastic as this game, but you know what I mean? The realism of it. Whereas like that goes on to the enemy types. The enemy types that you face in 1 are very realistic as far as, Rikers, prisoners from Rikers, looters in the street. You didn't have bow and arrow guys running around that you had no purpose. You came across LMB. They didn't have robot dogs and little mechanical tanks. It's like it was just the enemy types to me are so much better. The game in general, I believe, is harder in many ways than 1. We have 6 incursions that you can do. You don't need a party of 8 to do it. You need 4 players. That's all you need to play this game. You don't even have to have 4. If you're really good and you've really worked on your build, you can technically do most of them solo. I think there's a couple that you need a second person to push another button. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've actually gone through them. I'm currently doing the playthrough now, but that's on a completely different character, and I started from scratch because I have 4 characters on my first game, the first copy that I have, that are very meaningful, and I don't want to delete them. I wanted to carry them over into 2, and I really felt that that's where they dropped the ball. Was you could have took your characters from 2 or from 1 and brought them into 2 with you, and you could have built upon that. You could have went from level 30 to level 60 or something to that effect. The other thing I think makes this game a little harder is gear. Building a gear set in this game, I think it's more challenging because there are less gear sets. I really feel that you can fumble your way through Division 2 because there's so many different gear sets to pick from And when you can run in one area. I mean, I literally the other day, just as a little test, I went through and I said, I don't have an Aces of Eights build. I never had any interest in doing, sniper build or whatever. So I went to the targeted loot area in Aces of Eights, and within, I want to say 2 hours, I had a 6-piece set of Aces and Eights that, yeah, they required a little bit of, maneuvering of some of the skills and optimizing, but I had a whole set. It's like, you didn't do that in one. You went through the levels of the gear, and then when you got to the green, then all of a sudden it was classifieds. And the classifieds had a whole different meaning, and you needed 6 of them. Or a Ninja Bike backpack. It's like Barrett's chess piece. I think I played that mission 300 times, and I think I have maybe three of Barrett's chess pieces. Whereas if you play for an hour in Division 2, you get like 7 chameleons. It's like, with the exception of the raid stuff, the raid legendaries, or not legendaries, exotics, they're not as special. Every exotic is not as special. Whereas in this game, you randomly got exotics, and when you got them, they were special, and you could have three weapon types, all exotics, which was really cool. The smaller build sets, meant that you could have once you got that build, you could have a very strong build, and you couldn't really just piecemeal stuff together. The difficulty level in missions, I feel like the legendary missions, I think there's 6 of them in this game. I don't think every mission has a legendary, but I think there's 6 total, if I remember right. And they usually end with a hunter. But the whole mission itself is more challenging. It's not just airburst, seeker mines, and drones. And that's kind of where I feel that too. Legendary missions are just basically, they're just cheap mechanics. They're not really harder. They're obnoxious. They're more obnoxious in a way. They're not really harder. And I commend those that grind through them, because I don't have the patience to. And it's not because I can't make a good build to be able to do it. It's just not valuable to my time to make a build that isn't, I don't want to say isn't useful, but I just prefer, rather than me having to make a build to make up for somebody's lazy development, I would rather I have to make a build because of somebody's unique mechanics or challenging, a little bit more challenging. I don't find bullet airburst seeker mines and all that and drone spams. I don't find that as challenging content, in my opinion. But the way the gear works in one, to me, I feel is much more relevant than 2. The other aspect of it is, like, Road Gold touched on survival, and I feel that survival is a really, really structured entity of this game, and I feel that between Underground, Summit, Pier 93, the oil tanker, I think it is, mission. There's one other one I can't think of it offhand. Between all the incursions, there's a raid, but it doesn't matter. The incursions to me were just as challenging, if not more challenging. And that's where I go. Where, like, Summit is boring. I can't. In order to get an exotic, you got to run 30 floors of Summit. I get probably 10 floors in the summit and I've had enough. And I don't want to run 30 floors and end up with my 300th chameleon. You know what I mean? It's not valuable to my time. Whereas underground in this game, you didn't do it for the exotics. You did it because there was a little challenge to it. You didn't know when a hunter's going to pop. You know, you leveled your character up in the underground. That's where, you could change the mechanics of the game, where shock rounds or you get shocked or different things, and those carried over into Summit. But the whole thing as a platform missed compared to the underground. And that's kind of where I am with Descent. I feel Descent was kind of a softball shot at survival. And I played through Descent twice, and I just didn't feel that it was valuable. I love the idea of a roguelike, which is what I feel that survival is in one. But I don't want my thing to be talent based. I want what I'm doing to be gear based. I want to be challenged to put together a build by the end of Descent that I can either win or fail based on my luck, but also on my ability to be able to work my way through a build. I want a crafting table between everything instead of a place where I can just pick a skill to overpower my other skill. And that's kind of where I feel like they just missed it. To get back to the story of this. So the first game, yes, we had this compelling story. You had emotion with every phone you picked up. You got to hear it in their voices. There was real acting involved. It was some pretty emotional, hard-hitting stuff as you played through the game. And that's not there in 2. The other aspect of it is you played through this whole thing understanding Keener, trying to get to Keener and all that stuff. When you get to 2, they kind of carried that on. But once you killed Keener, the story just kind of ended. The Sokolova stuff, the rescuing people, it's not even, they're placeholders, and it's not even, I don't know. I struggle to get through them because I don't really see where they fit into the story. I don't feel like this last one with the manhunt for Brian Johnson, or whatever his name is. It just didn't make any sense. Like, here's this guy that's a recruiter, but he's not even a hunter. It's like you're not even, you just killed this guy. And I mean, I was like, ooh, where does he fit in? It's like, whoa, I kind of like, whatever. I don't get it. But and rescuing all these people, it's ways to give us chores to do things that I don't really feel add any value to the game. And that's why I say when Keener died, to me the story died. And then what solidified it was when we killed Fei Lao for no reason at all other than just to kill her. There's a huge story that could have been capitalized on with Fei Lao that didn't. There's after playing the first game, there's no way Fei Lao would switch sides, or switch sides without having other people in the loop to understand. Like, it made more sense if she had switched sides from the beginning, because then we would understand why everybody was pissed off at her when you went to the Warlords of New York map, because you had no idea. They don't trust the division, they don't like Fei Lao. Well, why is that? Never really understood it. They never really got involved with it. And it's like, okay, and then at the end she goes and plays for the other team, but there's no underlining story as to what the plan was. It just kind of threw it out there like, well, let's just kill her off because the game's dead anyways, I guess. But I don't know. I just kind of, that's one of them things that I struggle with. And that's why I honestly, that's why this game is so much better. And I think it's, I just think in general, it's a harder game to play, the 1 versus 2. And I think the things you do in 1 are way more meaningful than what you do in 2. 2, you're just, to me, 2, you're just playing a game. You're not really building anything. Your your base of operations. In 1, everything you did on the open world map meant something in your base of operations. Like, you slowly built up your wings, and you had to make selections as you did it as to what perks and achievements and different things that you wanted to get along the way, talents and perks that you wanted to help your game progress, which is where I think the specializations was, they brought the specializations out, which do similar things, but they're tied to weapons that you hardly ever see anybody using. I mean, there are rare occurrences in a raid where you use a bow, you know, and some people do use attack 50, but they're very random that you see people using them. I use them just because I have them, but I don't really need to use them. I use them because they're there, I guess, but I can go the whole mission without it. I mean, for a while I had it where I didn't even show it on my back because it just didn't add anything to the game. Whereas 1, you made those decisions as you went up through. Do I spend the 400 experience points I have to get this perk, or do I hold on to it until I get 1,000 points to do this one? You're going to get them all anyways, but you're making decisions as you're going. And the base of operations is growing. It's changing. You come in sometimes, all of a sudden now there's people from the streets that are in there. And it has a purpose. It has meaning. Where the second one doesn't. The base of operations in the second one, the White House, doesn't have any meaning. It's like you have the castle, which has meaning now, but when you first went in, it didn't. But it's just weird, you know. It's like you go into 1. If you go into a safe house, there's a person behind the desk. There's a vendor, but the person behind the desk you build rapport with. There's a storyline with them. You learn about them. They all have different personalities. They all have meaning, I guess. Whereas in the second one, every safe house is empty except for the 4 big ones. They're full of people. Not people, but they're full of vendors and different things like that. But when you go back to your post office in 1, you see people from the street coming in. See people getting care and getting different things. There's more life. Even in like the dreary times of 1, there's more life in the game, and you're seeing progress, and you're seeing the world turn around, and the compassion and all that stuff, and the feels, you know what I mean? Then you get into the cosmetics of the game. This game had really, really great cosmetics. You didn't have flip-flops. You didn't have a Hawaiian shirt. You didn't have any of that crap. And it's aggravating when I go to log in to see an apparel event and it has nothing to do with the task at hand. It does nothing to enhance the game at all. You know, it's like if I want to wear punk clothes, I'll play a game that has punk clothes. This gritty game here, you know, you don't want that. And it drives me nuts when I go to a apparel event that adds no value to the game. Whereas things in this game, different articles of clothes that you get and stuff, they make your character look cool and more based on a real life atmosphere. So I don't know. I feel that between the enemy types, the realism of the game, the texture and feel of the game, kind of grindiness of the game. I mean, it's, yes, when you get through this game and you complete everything you can on the surface, then there's no control points. There's none of that stuff. There's random bosses that rotate around that you can get, which may drop legendary or exotics sometimes. But you have incursions, you have way more legendary missions, way more to do. And the last thing I want to touch on is the hunters. The hunters in Division 2 have become a meme in some ways, where in Division 1 when you went into the underground and the hunter appeared, if you didn't have your strategy down, you were dead. Like you had to learn strategy and figure out how to beat them. And it wasn't a matter of I did jumping jacks at a waterfall and one spawned. You didn't get a hunter mask as a participation trophy in this game. You got a hunter mask because you ground for it. You have a mission where you got to kill, was it 5 in the open world, which means you got to do either legendaries or I think the Pier 93 missions. You had to kill 5 in the underground and you had to kill 5 in survival in order to get a certain hunter mask. I think there's one where you had to kill 100 in the underground. You get the B, I think it's the B mask, which you basically had to pay $20 for or whatever to get into. So the hunter mask, when you were in 1 and somebody walked in with a hunter mask, they worked for it. It wasn't just handed to them. Whereas 2, you don't even have to kill the hunter. You just have to you have to be with somebody that does kill the hunter. You have to do some kind of a circus trick, like go and turn on this washing machine, then go across the map, turn on this washing machine, and wait 20 minutes and go over here, and boom, the hunter spawned. The only one that I think is really cool is the lion eyes one, because you gather lion eyes and then you spawn that hunter. That you're doing something for that. But the jumping jacks, the running around the Christmas tree, that kind of stuff is just, and then when the hunter comes out, the battle's done in like 5 minutes. It's kind of disappointing compared to what the hunters were. And like now you have the rogues that come out in the open world. They're not predictable. You, like me, I know probably, I'll say if I do Navy Plaza, if I do the control point Navy Plaza on heroic difficulty, I want to say if I did it probably, we'll say 3 out of 5 times, I'll get rogues. And they're dead, just like a regular NPC. They're not even challenging. And the only thing that I would add to that was they could have gave the rogues names. Like we have 21 missing agents, I believe, in the first game that you go and you find their watches. Why couldn't they have taken those names and applied them to the rogues? Add some context, bring some story in, just tie them together. I mean, the games to me are so much different in some ways, and it's interesting when, I mean, I won't lie, I played 6 years straight of Guild Wars, and I absolutely loved the RPG looter. My character can have this gear and look completely different than your character. I loved that. So when this game came out, I'm like, it's my 2 favorite things. It's loot to make an awesome build, but a shooter, and a realistic shooter at that, as far as the atmosphere and all that. And it was fun to play, and I still play it. Like I said, I still play it today. And then when I went into 2, I was like, yeah, you can't direct your turret here to shoot at who you want it to. You can't pick your turret up So when you do use your skills, you gotta be a little bit more structured when you use them. But anyways, this video has gotten way longer than I wanted it to, but I knew I was just gonna ramble. And on screen is another reason. Yeah, I'm on the map right now, but once I get on the map, you walk through the open world, and we'll see it here in a second. I'll actually let the thing go longer, right? Okay, so check this out. The open world, there's body bags. You have NPCs that are walking along, and they're reacting to what they're seeing. You don't get that into that feeling like he's saying things. It's grabbing you. You know what I mean? That's just one of the things. And I honestly feel that this game looks better than 2 in my opinion. The Dark Zone being one big Dark Zone is way better than 3 separate Dark Zones. I have gone through, and I just realized I missed something back there. I had gone through and played, I guess I did go back to it, but I went through and I played, so I've gone through and leveled one of my characters up in the Dark Zone, doing a bunch of different achievements, and never saw a single player. Where in this game, when you go into the Dark Zone, you are gonna see players because there's only one Dark Zone. So that's my video. I want to thank everybody for watching. My channel has the stats are showing that I'm moving the needle in the right direction, which is awesome. I understand I don't have a lot of subscribers. That's okay. The fact that people are clicking on my video means the world to me. And I'm hoping there's some decent games coming out that'll help me build my content more. I'm gonna be doing some Path of Exile streaming for the next couple weeks because I'm really enjoying that game. There's a couple other games on my radar, but I'm trying not to buy them because I have enough games already. So anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a comment. I want to know how you feel. It ain't just about what I think, it's what you think as well. So feel free to leave a comment and get some dialogue going. Constructive criticism. I realize I didn't showcase the greatest gameplay ever, but that's not what the video is about. So anyways, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.